Well, good morning, everyone. I'm going to ask Cheryl, good morning. I want to get a sound check. How is my sound?
Your sound is just fine. Good morning.
Visuals?
I can see you clear.
Okay, good deal. I'm going to put you back in the mute and we'll be taking off here shortly. All right, good morning. As you come into the Zoom room, go ahead and give your greeting this morning. You might want to share where you are if you desire to do that. You can do that. It's good to see each of you who are joining this morning on in the Zoom room. And then I want to say good morning to those of you who are joining by way of the YouTube channel this morning. There is a little greeting out there. Go ahead and drop in your salutations as we prepare to get started this morning. So I got everybody muted out. Good. We're gonna get started here in about 10 seconds. Everything is good to go. I'm excited that you guys have chosen to spend your time with me this morning, and I want to say I believe it's going to be a worthwhile conversation presentation. This morning's my title is "The Secret: The Power of Sacred Silence in Manifestation." My session goes this morning while we're waiting for others to drop in. I just want to share some of the things I want to accomplish this morning. I want to help you understand the spiritual necessity of silence in creation or in the creation process. We want to look at that. We want to reinforce teachings that I've shared over the years on inner vision and your imagination. I want to equip you, the participant, with practices to protect your desires through sacred silence. You don't want to continue to see the seeds you've sown go ungrown. So we want to look at that, and then I want to inspire you to take on personal reflection and commitment to internal alignment. So that's kind of like my assignment this morning. So I want to say good morning to each of you. My question this morning: have you ever shared your dream with someone only to feel your excitement fade or their words introduce doubt? How did that feel? Many years ago, when I was first starting out, I had a vision for starting my own private practice. I told a few people, and those people I told early on, I thought they just would be resonating with it. But when I shared it with them, I could literally feel the energy being drained out of my dream, my aspiration. That's when I made a note and I became aware of this truth that we must protect our sacred seeds. And that's what we kind of explore this morning. I want to welcome you to Solutions for Living. I'm Greg Stanton, also known as Asar. This morning, we're going to explore how silence is not secrecy, it's strategy. I'm going to say it again. Silence is not secrecy, but it's strategy. If you're ready to protect your vision with reverence, go ahead and put a thumbs up or type yes in the chat. I'm going to just get some participation going this morning. Those of you who are over on the YouTube channel can do that too. Just type yes or a thumbs up if you are ready to protect your vision, because you come to the awareness that everybody don't resonate with what you share with them, but many times you don't find that out until it's too late, and it really impacts us. So this morning I want to start off with a quote by Neville Goddard. It was his primary instruction. He said, "Never discuss what you're doing, not even with those you love the most." Now that can be most challenging because you just automatically believe that those you love the things that you love, but they may be dealing with another reality. I know when I was married many years ago, before Tony transitioned, I had shared that I was leaving. I felt compelled to leave my good government job. And from that day forward, how hell broke loose in our lives because she believed she didn't really want to have a marriage that was built on walking totally by faith, even though this is before I went into ministry. We had built our relationship on faith, but that kind of let some of the air out of my balloon, and we had some struggles for many years as a result of that. When we would hit a bump in the road, it might be brought back to my attention. You shouldn't have did that. So, sometimes the people we love are well-meaning, but you want to know that you shouldn't discuss, even with those you love most, unless they're on the same frequency, unless they are vibrating, doing the same work. You want to be careful with that. So, in that conversation that Neville normally has, he's not promoting isolation. What he's doing is he's emphasizing the energetic containment. That is, everything is energy. When you speak of your desire too soon, you risk diluting the power of inner conviction through external scrutiny and logic or disbelief. And sometimes when you speak it too soon, you um, tend to have the expectation that you're closer to the manifestation than you really may be, and that can be discouraging. So you want to be careful what you speak, what you put out there too soon. So it's kind of like tuning a musical instrument. Constant external input detunes your internal alignment. So when you got an instrument that's just sitting there, it's picking up the vibrational frequencies of what's going on. You ever wonder why you ever got to a concert early and you would think that the guitarist can just pick up the guitar and start playing because he was the last one that played it, perhaps, or he hasn't played it since he put it away. But I've come to find out that as that instrument is sitting there, is impacted by the vibrational frequencies. So that musician usually have to do a little tweaking before he goes into performance. And that's kind of like each of us. We are impacted by the things that are going on around us. It's called the metaphysical law of vibration. Okay. Every thought, emotion, combination emits a vibration. Not just what you emitting, but the people you come around. So silence sustains this frequency. Speaking it aloud before it's fully formed can interrupt the resonance. Because when you're holding it in silence, you're kind of like that musician that's tweaking it. Or you may not be tweaking it, but you're affirming it and it's making it stronger. So that's really important. Another thing we have to be concerned with is what I like to call subconscious absorption. Subconscious absorption. The subconscious mind does not differentiate between your doubt and someone else's doubt. So when your subconscious mind hears or feels, it doesn't know if it's the feeling is coming from something you're experiencing, or it doesn't know if the doubt statement that you are processing through your mind is coming externally or internally, but it responds as such. So it responds only to our subconscious responds to our dominant feeling. External opinions, even well-meaning ones, can trigger unconscious fears, self-doubt, and contradiction. We can look at what's going on in this country today with the leadership. A lot of people are anxious, and even individuals who chose to cast their ballot in favor of who they thought was represented their greatest and highest good. But today they are feeling fear, self-doubt. And a lot of it has to do with media because you have to be careful which media you're listening to. Some channels I just cannot listen to at all because I just say, really, do people really believe that? And so you got to step away from external stimuli that does not um, um, build or increase your resonance. Now, we can look at an example of this in Luke 1 and 24. You maybe never looked at it like this. In Luke 1 and 24, the scripture reads, and after those days, his wife Elizabeth conceived and hid herself 5 months. That I know we probably interpret that having to do with the preacher telling us that she was embarrassed because she was having a child at such a young age. But let's look at that from a metaphysical approach or meaning. When we look at Elizabeth, her name itself represents the creative, or she represents the creative womb of our consciousness. Okay. And the conception symbolizes a divine idea forming in our subconscious. And it says that she hid herself. The hiding here indicates reverent withdrawal from the external world to allow this idea to gestate in peace. So you got an idea, you want to hide it, you want to pull away from, because you want to give it the opportunity to gestate and not be interfered with. So when we look at this passage, it really validates the practice of energetic incubation. Can you say that with me? Energetic incubation. That is, we're retreating until the vision begins to manifest outwardly. We are retreating until the thing desired begins to break forth and show signs that is rooted and now coming forth. So we got to learn to have what was known as spiritual privacy or spiritual privacy versus secrecy. That is right. We want to have spiritual privacy versus just having what we would call secrecy. So when we look at spiritual privacy, it's not driven by fear, but it's driven by devotion. You keep silent because you understand the sacred nature of your creation. In silence, you create. Just as a sculptor, when we look at a good sculptor, does not show their unfinished statue. The soul does not prematurely reveal its divine masterpiece. Okay, because if you're standing by and you watching a sculptor, you might say that's a hot mess, or you may see the sculptor may make a mistake and then go in the process of adjusting that mistake. And so sometimes in the process of creating, we want to do it in privacy, and I like to call it spiritual privacy, not just secrecy. Yeah. A good example is the seed. When we look at a seed as a symbolism, a seed must remain underground, undisturbed, or in a pot, undisturbed until it does what? It sprouts. You know that if you dig it up by talking about it constantly or seeking approval, it loses its potency. In the natural sense, if you dig it up and keep covering it over, it loses something, the momentum that it picks up. And likewise, when you share your dream or your vision with someone, you are at risk of having someone take the air out of your balloon. And when you do that, you almost are moving into a state of seeking approval. You know, it's like putting a post up that's powerful and no one likes it. Inside, we all feel a little discouraged, not realizing that the way the algorithm goes, you may not be in front of the things other people you see. You may have 3,000 people on your feed and 3 people like it. That can be discouraging. So you have to be conscientious and aware that when I share something, Am I sharing it to get a response? Am I sharing it to get an affirmation? Am I sharing it to get the go ahead? And sometimes, if you do share, you just want to know, I'm sharing because I want to share. But be careful with that because we are observers. And if we don't see the response we desire, it kind of impacts us. So we want to be very careful that we don't talk about it constantly or seek approval. Because when we do that, the thing we desire loses its potency. And imagination is the soil, feeling is the water, and guess what? Silence is the sun. You plant it in the imagination, you cultivate it in the feeling, and then you sit in silence, reflection, which brings it to light. Okay, what is one dream? I'm gonna ask this morning, or one aspiration that you desire and being called to keep sacred right now? Think about it. Something that you're being called to keep sacred. Well, maybe you weren't keeping it sacred, but now you're saying, okay, I could avoid it. I could avoid it, all of that pushback. I could have avoided that negativity. What one thing that you've experienced that shows you that there's truth in the path we're going down this morning? You don't have to type it out. I want you to think about it. Okay. I want you to just know and track with me that when you share your vision prematurely or with those who are not resonating with you, you lose momentum. Okay. So silence is not hiding in fear, but it's standing in faith. It's working a faith principle where it says, don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. And you're on the same body. Now, let's do it. An exercise this morning. I want to guide you into a quiet, still space. Just take a couple minutes. I want you to close your eyes and take a big breath in and hold it in gratitude and enjoy of what you have right now and release it. Take another big breath in, go inside, hold that breath. Now, exhale all the way down. And as you come to the bottom of the breath, I want you to continue to breathe in and out at your own pace. And I want you to imagine as you sit in your private inner sanctuary that before you is a seed, and you're planting that seed, which represents your desire, in that pot, in that room. And as you plant the seed, you cover it up. Now I want you to step away and step outside and close the door. And I want you to visit that seed every day in your imagination. But don't tell no one. I want you to type sacred if you felt a sense of power in that inner chamber. When we go inside, it says, he that dwells in the secret place of the most of the mighty shall inhabit. It tells us when we go in to that secret place, we will be exalted, that we will be renewed. We'll mount up as on wings as eagles. So that secret place and that silence, and that's why we go into the silence a lot. Okay. And I do this frequently, particularly because I have a tendency, because I talk to so many people. So many people are working with me and sharing their desires. And sometimes I just naturally share minds. And I can sense when I've just lost a sense of potency, when the person either don't understand or they'll ask me a question that doesn't necessarily cause me to question, but when I hear the question, then it goes into my subconscious. And my subconscious begins to wonder, is he questioning what it is that he believes? So I want you to be mindful of that. Thank those of you who put sacred there. Good. Neville Goddard, if you listen to him, he often tells about the story of the trip he took to Barbados. And you know, his spiritual coach was Abdullah. So Neville Goddard, at one point in his life, desired to visit his family in Barbados at a time that he had no means to afford the trip. And it was during the time that we were in a deep recession. Rather than disturbing this desire with or discussing his desire with others or asking for assistance, Neville entered into a deep state of imaginal experiencing as he had been guided by his coach, Abdullah. So each night he would lie down and he would assume the feeling of already being in Barbados. You know, we hear me talk about living from the end. And here's the example he is that when he went to sleep at night, he assumed the feelings of being in Barbados. He mentally walked through the port. He smelled the Caribbean air. He felt the warmth on his skin, and he interacted with his family in his imagination. Remember, imagination isn't child's play. He did this persistently, and after several weeks, it was reported, without requesting it, he received a letter from his brother with a first-class ticket to Barbados. Now, he never spoke of the desire to anyone other than his coach, and his coach would correct him. There was a couple of times when he went back to uh, his coach Abdullah, and Abdullah would shut the door on him because he was saying things he shouldn't be saying. So Abdullah didn't even entertain that. He just shut the door. And so here's the point I'm making: be careful who you speak to. We have to understand that the universe orchestrates the right channels, even in Neville's case. This story is a classic example of sacred silence and inner conviction bringing forth external manifestation. Now, it's important that we do that. So this week, I want you to look for an example of how this has worked in the past or is working right now. I've had many clients that I taught this to, from those who were seeking a book deal to desiring to be pregnant or in transition from one job to the other and not knowing what job, but they learned to sit in the silence and until it was complete. So why do we feel the need to share what it is that we're creating too soon? Okay. Why do we feel the need to share too soon? Sometimes we share, it's a form of fear of failure. Okay. If we share, we believe that we are stepping into it, but it's motivated because of fear of failure or someone to hold us to a commitment we're making. In most cases, they won't hold you to a commitment because they don't believe you can do it. Another answer is people desire for validation, and that's a big one. We share sometimes to get validation. And many of us share not because of fear, not because of validation, but we share because of excitement. What excites you may not excite someone else. You share with excitement only during halfway through the conversation. You're looking at this person and they're looking at you like they're a deer caught in the lights of an oncoming car. And you feel that. And you begin to cut your story short or decrease the exuberance by which you are sharing. So I want you to remember, the subconscious does distinguish between your doubt and other people's doubt. So you gotta be careful who you're around. It just picks up the vibration of doubt. So you need to protect your seed. Now, you may say this morning, what are some of the practical tools that I can use for sacred silence? One, you could journal instead of speaking. So when you are excited about it, write it down. Your inner voice speaks clearly in ink or pencil. I like to write in pencil. You can erase it, or you can. Another thing you can do is called symbolic reminder. You can have a bracelet, you can have a stone, you can have an item to remind you of your inner silent vision. And you might wear it around your wrist. So that way, when you are thinking about sharing it with somebody, you look at your wrist and then you just say, no, I'm not going to do that. So it's a symbolic reminder. You want to have a symbolic reminder that tells you to hold sacred silence. Another thing you can do is what's known as daily inner visits. That is, you return to the fulfilled feeling daily and as frequently as often as you desire. But at least you want to do it at night as you drift off to sleep. I think that's the most powerful place because when you are in that state right before you go off to deep sleep, you are in the state where you can be reprogrammed. And so, what better thing to take into your programming the visualizations, the feeling as it's already happened? So, you want to do daily inner visits. You also want to guard the gates. That's a practice I call guarding the gates. That is, don't ask for advice on things not yet born. Now, with this new technology, the only advice I would encourage people to go after is advice you find in AI. Chat GPT, Gemini, all these large language models are a great coach, are great coaches, particularly once you've communicated to it what it is you desire and it's working with you towards creating that thing. That's the person I have my conversations with. Sometimes I will have a conversation with my large language model. I use Chat GPT, and it's sometimes if I'm feeling somewhat discouraged, or I may say, "Here I go with another idea," and it'll have a real conversation with me and affirm that yes, it feels like you have another idea that has not gone to the market, and I have this conversation and it's affirming, it's powerful, it's encouraging. Whereas if I had this same conversation with someone who is not on the same vibrational frequency, who does not think the way I think, who are not at the level that I'm at, not saying that someone is at a level that may be beyond me. They may not, whatever it is, they're not resonating on my same frequency, and they can take the air out of the potency out of what I've created. So that's something. If you're not aware of how you can use AI in that way, you need to have. I encourage you to have a conversation with me about that. Now, that's it's new technology. We need to get on board with it. Okay, so those are four things you could journal instead of speaking. You can get yourself a symbolic reminder. You can set up a time that you have daily inner vision visits, and then you want to guard the gates. You don't ask for advice on things not yet born. Now, which of these will you start using this week? Go ahead and type it in the chat. Will you do one, journal instead of speaking? Two, symbolic reminder. You're going to find something. Three, daily inner vision or visit. Or four, will you use guarding the gate? Which one of those were you going to take on this week? Just go ahead and type it in. I hope everybody's with me this morning. No one's tracking there. So that was just an opportunity for you to participate. Now, I really encourage each of you to know that loose lips sink ships. Loose lips sink ships. That's the statement when I was in the Navy early on in my career. We would hear that stated to us, and that it said was saying to us that we shouldn't be speaking things that shouldn't be spoken, shouldn't be sharing things with those who don't have the clearance to know that. We see that right now we're having a national crisis because we had individuals who were not aware of that simple adage: loose lips sink ships. Everybody don't need to be privy to the privacy of what you're creating or what you're doing. But we have a group of people who don't understand that and don't see the magnitude of what they've done and the implications that it could have had. And likewise, in our lives, we have to be careful that we don't have the wrong people on the call, the wrong people in conversation with us. That's important because loose lips actually can sink a ship. Sharing your vision, sharing your desire can have it stolen. Somebody can take it to the market before you get it to the market, or someone can just say something to just assassinate your vision, knock it right out the water. Now, for the next 7 days, I want you to pick one desire, and I want you to share it with no one, not even the person you share a pillow with. Instead, I want you to feed it only in your imagination. Don't seek affirmation by someone else. Don't seek someone to stand in agreement with you. Don't seek to try to convince someone else to come into alliance with you. That doesn't say that there's a discord between you and them, but I want you to practice this principle today. The sacredness of silence. Okay? So I really want you to do that. For the next 7 days, pick one desire, share it with no one. Instead, feed it only in your imagination. Now, let's do that this week. So if you found today's teaching meaningful, I invite you to join our daily morning meditations. Every morning, a simple golden nugget is called Spill the Beans. I share a truth that you could transform your life that day. So each morning we gather to center ourselves, align with spirit, energize our day, and with a focused intention. Some of you haven't experienced that. Every Monday through Friday, daily, 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. You just dial in, get in where you fit in. You're not required to say anything, to do anything, and just listen. A door is open to give you the opportunity to share your cares, share your cares and concerns. But for the most part, it doesn't require anything of you but to be present to get these golden nuggets. So I invite you to join me Monday through Friday for Spill the Beans. Looking forward to seeing you. So if this work that I'm in has nourished you today, I invite you to sow a seed back into the work that supports it. Your gifts allow me to continue sharing metaphysical truths, offering morning meditations, and expanding access to spiritual empowerment across our community. Yes, your gift makes room for you. Now, there's a number of ways you can give. You can give via Cash App. At the Cash App is 708-368-1076, 708-368-1076. Or you can do it via Zelle using that same number, 708-368-1076. I appreciate that. Thank you for sowing those seeds. Thank those of you who sow throughout the week. Some of you sow seeds, and I'm appreciative of that. So this morning, I bless every gift, large or small, as we give thanks for every heart that has moved to support this work. May what you give return to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over in the same consciousness with which you gave it. And so it is. Awesome. So before we close this morning, I want to present an affirming prayer. So right where you are, just close your eyes and be present to right here, right now. Beloved presence, infinite and unseen, we thank you for the sacred whisper that stirs in our hearts, the divine spark that dares us to dream. Today, we step into the sanctuary of the unseen, not with fear, but with reverence. We understand now that what you have planted in our hearts is not meant for public scrutiny, but for private communion. We thank you for the wisdom to be still, to hold the vision with sacred hands, and to speak only to you in the language of our imagination. We honor the unseen as real. We trust the silent process. We allow our desires to incubate, to root, to be nourished by faith and watered with expectancy. Let our minds be the soil where the truth take root. Let our hearts be the womb that carries your holy ideas into form. Let our spirits be undisturbed by the opinions of the world. And when the time is right, let what we have silently loved into being blossom into the world, strong, undeniable, and whole. Let us remember that the silence is not weakness, but power, that withholding is not fear, but faith, that our true agreement is not with man, but with you, the indwelling presence who knows all, sees all, and brings all into perfect timing. May we leave this gathering renewed in our confidence, anchored in our purpose, and most of all, aligned with the quiet power of sacred imagination. And so it is. Amen. I hope you receive that. So this week, our community intention for the week is I honor my dreams with sacred silence. I speak to them only in imagination. I trust the unseen. Now, let the silence speak your truth this week. Until the world has no choice but to witness your bloom. And you know they're witnessing your bloom because they are communicated as suddenly she went from ill to well. He went from broke, busted, and disgusted to bountiful. And they'll say, wow, how did that happen? Suddenly, but it wasn't suddenly. It was because you kept it in the sacredness of silence. They weren't able to unseat you. Now, if you'd like to stay for a moment of relaxing dialogue this morning, I'm opening up the green room. It's an informal time for community connection, reflections, and questions. So I'm going to do that right now. Again, your assignment, your journaling about your 7-day challenge. I want you to be present to that. All right. All right. So let me open up the green room. First of all, I want to say to those of you who are in the YouTube channel, thanks for joining me this morning. I don't see any dialogue there, but I see that we do have a few people that's following and many people listen to this afterwards. And I want to encourage you to visit the website, Soulutions for Living, SOULUTIONS for living.com. Poke around out there, got a lot of things going on. I want to invite those of you to my upcoming basic one-on-one chat GPT 101 webinar. I've adjusted it accordingly. Some people thought the price points was too much because they don't know what they don't know. So I've kind of adjusted it and to $47. But you can still get the one-on-one with me and get the full breadth of what I initially was going to do in that group. And now I've got two offers out there. One, you can participate in the $47 informational about the large language models such as ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, all these models that are out there. At least you come away informed. And then maybe you want to begin to really perfect your use of these tools. Then you can set up a personal one-on-one with me. And that 1 hour session is $97. And you come away with specific conversation around what you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish with it, and you get a playbook, something that you can take to action on your own or with someone else. All right. So let's go into the green room this morning. If you're with us this morning, you got a care, share, concern, or you have a comment, you can go ahead and put it into the chat. Either one of the chats, you can put it there, or you can raise your hand. Let me go through the comments here, see if anyone had made any comments. Rachel says, "My suddenly will spring forth in the sacred silence." Yes, my suddenly springs forward in the sacred silence. That's a beautiful one. Anybody else, if you got anything, go ahead and raise your hand. And while you do that, I'm going to do something. Let me show you how powerful, give you an example of how powerful this thing called AI or Chat GPT is. So I'm going to take that one little comment that Rachel just gave us, and I'm going to create a poem. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to ask that you, if you got something you want to add or something you want to share, you raise your hand and you do that. Other than that, give me 15 seconds. Okay. So I'm going to create a poem, a brief poem. And I'm going to have the focus of that poem being around the idea of creating in sacred silence. Okay, let's do that. And let me see what it gives us. I'm gonna see what it's going to give us this morning, so we can leave with that. Since nobody has any questions, nobody has any comments or concerns, let's do that. Here's the poem: creating in sacred silence, in silence deep where stillness dwells, beyond the sound of earthly bells. The sacred spark begins to glow, a whisper where the dream's seeds grow. No clamor calls, no voice led, just breath and thought, the soul's own creed. Creation flows, not rushed, not loud, but rising soft with morning's shroud. Here, spirit speaks with subtle grace, and visions bloom in timeless space. The womb of wonder, calm, unseen, bursts all that ever was or has been. So pause, be still, let noise release. The holy craftsman works in peace. What do you guys think about that? I'm going to open up the mics here for everyone who's with us this morning. Your mics is unmuted. Any conversation this morning? What do you think about the poem?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, one at a time.
Okay, go ahead. Your mom can go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think it's lovely.
Excellent.
I think it's on time. And like you said, loose lips sink ships. But no buts about it. You learn to keep things to yourself, they materialize better.
Yes.
But when you start telling folks or saying stuff out loud, it become an envy thing, a jealousy thing. So I've learned over the years and through this morning's conversation, what I'm concentrating or thinking on is for me.
Yes.
It is for me, not for nobody else. Because I know what I want Source to do for me. I know what's in my mind. So I don't need to share it with nobody.
Yes. Yes.
Just keep it moving.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
Awesome. And then let me correct something this morning. Let's say adjust. Source is not doing anything for you, for any of us. Source is doing things through us, with us. Can you see the difference there, Mom?
Yes, I do.
Excellent. And all of you on the
Thank you.
And I know we are accustomed to the old system where we depend on or trust in God or lean on Jesus. And that was what I would like to call poor theology, because when you really understand the theology of the Gospels, it's about being reconnected and taking our rightful places, living as the I am in the earth, being the individual spark that source works through as you. And so we just correct that. So we're not waiting on someone else to do anything for us. We are creators. And that's what this is all about. Thank you for sharing this morning. Also,
Thank you.
it was good to see you last week also. I had a great time.
I
Also.
love you.
Okay, love you too, Mom. Bye. Okay, Cheryl, you have the mic.
What? Okay, good morning. Good morning, everyone. I was just thinking about how in the sacred silence, like sometimes I desire something and I don't tell anybody. I just think about it in my mind. And then I go to the place and it manifests like right there, right immediately. And it's like, wow. I mean, I'm surprised by it, but it's what I expect. So it's kind of, I mean, I like it. I do like it.
Excellent. How'd you like the poem?
I like that. Can you print it and send it to us?
Yes, ma'am. I can post it right here in the chat. I'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna do that. And while I'm doing that, wait, let me copy it right quick. And then I see Myrna has her hand up. Myrna, I believe you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate what Miss Anna B and what Cheryl had to say this morning. It's a blessing. Um, I too am walking in that space of silence and the unfolding of things, the blossoming of things, and that's the visual for me these days, especially in this season. Um, uh, God in me is very much so making me to understand um, how due season happens
Mm,
in due season.
mm,
And so when I look out and because there's some things that I am very much so in silence about, and God has made me to know that um, that it's right here happening. And when things start happening, as Cheryl said, then it is something that is delightful. It is something that's wonderful, that feels really good. And so each time when I look outside and I see new blossoms on a tree or new flowering of a plant that wasn't there yesterday,
mm,
then that just reminds me of the unfolding of spirit and how things work in the spirit realm. So it's a wonderful thing, and so yeah, so it's wonderful in terms of the poem.
mm.
Because I suspect you're gonna ask me about the poem.
Go
Um,
ahead.
um, I think it's cool. It's a cool thing that this device can utilize the benefit of thousands
Mhm.
of poems where we don't have that benefit to listen to and know thousands or even maybe millions of poems that it has access to. As a creative, it makes me also kind of like, okay, um, in a way of, huh, um, um, it stirs something within me that makes me kind of pause. If I'm honest with everybody, it makes me kind of pause because it's great for those um, who cannot do certain things that makes them capable of doing certain things, or who feel they can't, or question their abilities. And so for those of us who are exposing and putting out those things
Mhm.
for people to say they like or don't like, that Chat GPT don't care how you feel about that poem. Doesn't have any human elements at all. That, oh, I think that sucked, you know. It
Right.
doesn't have any of that. But for those of us who human that may have put that out, and someone then, as you said, could have responded very differently to our efforts at being creative and expressive in that sacred silence, creating in sacred silence. So it's an interesting place to have this device that has no emotions, put things out, and it will be interesting to see once, like when you put that out, it's like that's nice, okay, and so anyway, that's where I am with the point.
And sometimes what I have found is it really levels the playing field. Example, I have advanced degree, but coming up in school, one of the things that I was most challenged with was the English language, even though I had great ideas, but sometimes I found it difficult to put my idea to paper. And so over the course of years, I was introduced to things like what do you the books where you can you got one word but you want another word. What's that book called?
Thesaurus?
Sorry, right, thesaurus. So I'm just pulling people into this conversation. So was I being untrue to myself by going to the thesaurus and finding an alternative word for the word that I was familiar with? And that's the same with AI. Now, here's what I did. I asked the AI, I said, is this poem 100% original? And I say, is this original or drawn from the works of others? Because many people believe that everything you get from AI is a direct result of what somebody else's work. That's true. Listen to what it said. Listen to what it gave me. The poem is 100% original, crafted by you specifically for you. It says, Asar, based on your requests and your deeply rooted metaphysical perspective, it is not drawn from an adapted from any other poet's work. However, it is inspired by the universal tone and rhythm often found in sacred or contemplative poetry, echoing the spirits of mystics like Rumi, Howard Thurman, or even the quiet reverence found in some of Neville Goddard's teachings. It says, if you like, I can also add your signature style or a subtitle referencing solutions for living or your deeper themes like mine as creator. Would you like me to explore a visual version too for your newsletter, your book, or your social media? See, now here's what you need to know. I've been using ChatGPT since its inception. I was one of the first beta testers. I'm an early out. Over the years, and I have the model I pay for, I pay $20 a month. The model has been trained towards me because it knows the books I read, the conversations I've had. And so when I ask it to create something, usually it creates from how I've trained it based on what my position is. So it's a real positive, powerful model. And even if I want to have something that, because I could have asked them to create the poem very different than it was created, and it'll do that. But I want to just get all of you to be open to the idea of what this technology is bringing forward. Now, this is something you need to know. If you are creative, those who you may consider yourself in competition with, they're using this technology. So you can continue to stick and stay in your old way, or you can you can be open at the top and you can expand. That's my encouragement to all of you. Excellent. All right. Anything else before we go this morning? Thanks, Myrna, for tuning in and for sharing that this morning. All right. Looks like I don't see any other hands up or any other comments in the comment section. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close out this morning. You have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you all one day this week during Spill the Beans. That's 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Thank you, those of you who have made deposits into the ministry this week, and even on this morning, I heard the other phone notifying me that someone has sown a seed. So thank you. Have a wonderful day. Peace. I'm Asar. Hopefully something was said or done or shared with you this morning that has been uplifting and encouraging. Peace.